Mike, thank you for joining me today on Pop Culture Unplugged.
Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
It'll be an exciting time, my friend. You got to be, you're all over the place. All the research I was doing on you, podcast, comedian, you've done roller hockey goalie, team with gold. I mean, like, I don't know, you're all over the place. Like I said, you're like a puzzle. Every time you put a little piece on it.
That's nice. That's a nice way to say it. Some people would say I'm a overachiever, and other people would say pick a lane. So I like the way you're describing it.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's start first of all. Like I mentioned, the comedy and everything, stand-up comedy. You have a new album out, but first, like, how did this whole comedy thing started for you? What made you get to the stand-up world?
Um, Man, I'll tell you what. I think stand up came from this dude, Peter Tuesdays at noon. Let me see if I can do that with my hamburger background. Ah, the green screen. I'm getting rid of the hamburger. It's just not worth it. Hold on. None. Boom.
There
All
we go.
right. I'm in a hotel room in the middle of Bellingham, Washington. It is what it is. So Peter Tuesdays at noon, he's my guy. When I know it's probably trite by now, but going to therapy and dealing with my family trouble was like helpful to get me to figure out who I am. And once I figured out who I am, I felt fortunate to be able to describe my life and my stories in a funny way. So when I'm on stage, nobody's like, "Ooh, God damn, like, why are you telling us about that? That sounds awful, dude. You should not talk about that in public." But instead, luckily, I'm funny enough to figure out how to tell my truth in a way that resonates with people and is also like funny to listen to. So for me, stand up was like a perfect fit for me to figure out how to be honest and hopefully be hilarious while I'm doing it.
Mhm. You mentioned you use like your life stories for your stand-up. Do you like wake up in the middle of the night with that notebook, start writing things down just so you don't forget? Is that what you're doing?
Yo, you know it, man. You know it. And so many times it's nothing. Like it'll make zero sense the next day, but at least I wrote it down. Wait, I wrote one down 2 days ago. Let me find it. Um, oh, a new, you know how there's a knuckle sandwich, like is a punch? This is bad. Don't, this isn't my comedy, y'all. When you come see me perform, this will not be on stage. But I was sleeping and I had an idea that a noodle sandwich would just be a slap
Mm.
because it's a little looser. And see, that's what I'm talking about, man. None of these are great, but you got to keep writing them down and you'll find the gems. That's just how it goes. Um, so yeah, a tattoo of I wanted to get my next tattoo and have it be of an accordion on my stomach so that if I gain a bunch of weight, it'll still look like an accordion. Yeah, I think
Just
that's
to
cool. But
stretch
just
out
stretch out
accordion.
a little. But
Yeah.
like those are the things, man. Like, but those are like my dreams, and those are the things I think of at night. And they'll most of them never make it on stage. But if I don't honor my muse and continue to like write down the ideas that come to me, I'm never gonna find the good ones, you know? So you gotta do the work.
With all this writing and everything, there's a lot of comedians, I've spoken to, or you just read stories on them, everything. Do you ever try to put those jokes and stories down into like a script or something? Maybe get like try to do like your own shorts or sitcom or something like that in the future.
Yeah, man. I moved to Los Angeles because I got my college degree in screenwriting,
Okay.
um, which is fine, but little did I know you don't have to pay $1.2 million to write. Like, give me a break, dude. That's a ripoff, man. You kidding me?
Mm.
Just stay home and write. Read scripts and write. Don't go to college for it. But I was really good at script writing. I got nominated for an Emmy writing for HBO's Night of Too Many Stars. I've had a bunch of late night monologue jokes go on TV. I've gotten to write for some pretty incredible shows. And I thought that's what I wanted to do in my life was have other people say my funny words.
Mm.
And then I started going to open mics and realized that like nobody's going to say my words as funny as I am. And I don't mind being the center of attention if I get to tell my tales, you know? So I still really love writing and I love writing in other people's voices. But my favorite thing to do is write for myself.
Nice. Is there any like comedians that you growing up, like was there any comedians that you looked up to, try to watch their stuff over and over, and eventually now that you started doing comedy, like you go back and watch their work just to like to make your craft better?
Man, I'll tell you what, I dig that question a lot because my very first concert ever was Weird Al. Do you know who
Okay.
Weird Al
Yeah, oh
is?
yeah, oh yeah.
Come on now. So like I would listen to Weird Al nonstop growing up, and then I got to meet him. I was a writer's PA on the Late Late Show before Corden took over. and he was
Mm.
one of the guests, and I had him sign like a poster, and I got to take a picture with him. So I went from like my first concert ever being a Weird Al concert to being able to meet him in Los Angeles and tell him how much he means to me, and that was a dream come true.
Did you get a chance to watch the movie that came out about a year and a half ago with Daniel Radcliffe playing
Yeah.
Weird Al?
No, how is it? Is it
It was
good?
good. I had Daniel on, and oh my god, man, the way he played him, it was like it was incredible. The way he like studied him and everything, and he did a good job playing him.
Yeah, man, that's so cool. I should watch that movie. I feel like now that I've met him, I don't want to do anything else. Like that's a wrap on my Weird Al experience, but I should absolutely see that.
Easy. So, with the comedy world, everything. Now you also have a podcast called Life Rules the Show. How did you decide to start a podcast like this? And what inspired you to create a series like this?
Man, I just I feel like I have a real opportunity to make the world a better place. And while making the world a better place, I can make myself a better person. And Life Rules is something I thought of not only for my special on my YouTube, but it's also a great podcast because I get to have guests on who can share with me what their life rules are, like what their rules for life are, and also why their life rules, like why is their
Mm,
life amazing? And being able to ask people and have an opportunity to sit down with some of my heroes and say like how did you get to where you are? What does it take? And also what do you celebrate? How do you balance life rules and life rules? And it's just a great excuse for me to like learn more about what makes somebody tick and then hopefully take some of those things and make them and incorporate them into my own life.
mm. How many episodes are you in so far with this podcast?
Ooh, a whopping 4. And then I had to leave for tour for a month. So
Uh,
right now I'm in a hotel in Bellingham, Washington. We're about to do a show tonight. I think it's sold out, so that feels real good. And then when I get back to LA, I've got a bunch more episodes I'm going to release on my. It's on YouTube and Apple and iTunes and everywhere you listen to pods. It's called Life Rules, and yeah, I'm really stoked on it because I think it's a great opportunity for people to share their stories.
is there a certain guest that you have booked that you could tell us about that you're excited about, or even just an episode you've released?
I'll tell you my dream guest. Let's put it in the air. I want Action Bronson on. Come on now. I know he has New Balances coming out too. So Action, if you're listening to this, come promote your New Balances on my show. We'll take some dabs, we'll talk about life, and then we'll do some cooking afterwards.
There you go. You also mentioned the you got a special on you. Is that the Life Rules Mixtape Volume One?
Yeah, man.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It's my first special. I've been doing stand up for 6 years. I wanted to put something out and put a lot of these jokes from my first 6 years to bed. I'm really proud of the last joke on the special too. It's about validation and my therapist Peter Tuesdays at noon and having a big breakthrough in a session and then my neighbor hears it through the wall. And I felt like that joke in particular that ends Life Rules is a turning point in my comedy. And so now I'm talking a lot about my life experiences, a lot of my adventures that I've had, and it's resonating with people on a deeper level. But it took me putting out a special with a lot of jokes that I just needed to put to bed to now move on and have people come see me live and be like, oh, that special was really good. What you're talking about now is even better. So
Mm.
that's a really important part of, I think, growth.
What's great about stand up now too is like I grew up with the old stand up too, and like what's great about now is like you have like YouTube you could release it on. You could release it on so many platforms, everything. Back in the day, remember you had to wait either for Tuesday, Thursday to roll around to go buy that CD because it's dropping, or you had to wait to Comedy Central special or something like that. It's great now how you guys have so much to work with.
Yeah, it's true. It's really true. I think like being your own boss and being able to create your own opportunities and then letting the market decide is a very like equal way to have a career. It takes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of clipping and recording and being your own audio engineer. Like, but I'd rather have it that way than have a bunch of 80-year-old men at a long oak desk decide my fate. So
Mm.
I think we're in a better place now.
Do you feel like when you drop like a stand up on YouTube, it opens up your doors for eventually maybe like a Netflix special or Prime, Amazon Prime or something like that? How does that work?
Um, I appreciate that question because I can see where you're leading me, my guy. So I appreciate that because I put out that special. I put out Life Rules on March 11th on 3/11,
Okay.
And in a month, I think it's going to hit 30,000 views, which for me, you having me on is great. Nobody knows who I am. They might recognize me from like Food Network's Worst Cooks in America or Getting High with Snoop Dogg for BuzzFeed or something like that. But like for stand up, somehow it's going to reach 30,000 views, which tells me that there's people out there who really resonate with my comedy. And I think that directly led to me being asked to do Netflix as a joke festival on May 9th in Los Angeles. Like when I got that email and they were like, hey, we'd like to do Netflix as a joke presents Mike Glazer. Would you be interested in that? I was like, come on now. This is
Yeah.
why we play the game. Let's
You,
go.
you didn't even have to ask why. Why bother asking? Just send me the invite.
Send me, yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't need to go back and forth asking if I'm curious. That's a big yes from me for sure.
Mhm. Is there certain comedians that you can't wait to like even shop talk with, like just to talk about the craft and everything that you're gonna meet out there?
Man, yeah, I've been real fortunate through producing my own shows at like places like the Comedy Store. I've gotten to
Yeah.
like do a show with Dave Chappelle, do a show with Jerry Seinfeld. My favorite comedian of all time is Neil Brennan, and he's been real kind to me. Check out his new Netflix special, Crazy Good. The people I'm most excited about are
Okay.
Cat Williams, Cat Williams, and Cat Williams.
There you go.
I gotta meet Cat Williams.
I follow Dane Cook on Instagram. He's gonna be there too. Have you seen that?
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. There's a few people that are gonna be out there that I saw names of. When you mentioned earlier about working with somebody like Dave Chappelle or even like Gordon Ramsay, I'm curious about that. How is he meeting somebody like that?
I was nervous to meet Gordon Ramsay. So the quick story is I went from being on Food Network's Worst Cooks in America. I won't spoil it if you want to watch it. I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. I took the money from that, went to culinary school on the weekends,
Okay.
graduated from culinary school basics, and then got hired on the F Word with Gordon Ramsay as an improviser and cook behind the scenes. And I was so nervous the first day. I got there early. I got my sharp knives. I'm ready to go. He showed up early. He introduced himself to the entire crew, shook everyone's hand. We got going right on time. He's a pro. He introduced himself to me. He called me a really good line cook. He didn't yell at me, even though I wish he would have yelled at me. That would have been kind of a dream come true to have
Right.
him yell at me, right? But instead, he told me, great job. And then we got out of there early. Next day, on time, do the work, get out early. He runs it like a tight ship and he runs it with so much respect. And when he turns it on because he's a pro. But behind the scenes, man, he is a true consummate professional who is there to do the work and treat everybody kindly. Like it's truly remarkable what kind of a man and cook he is.
Mhm. Had he found out about like like your journey, like what you've done? Because like I said, you've done a little bit of everything. Did he ever find out you got your hands all over the place?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I told him. We chopped it up a little bit, and I told him about my journey, and he goes, "That's remarkable." And I was kind of hoping he'd be like, "Well, you should come stage at one of my restaurants," but instead he just put his hand on my shoulder and goes, "Keep it up." And I was like, "Okay, respect."
Hey. How about Dave Chappelle? Any tips from somebody like him?
Well, I mean, that was a party, dog. Like we partied when I was doing my show Glazed at the Hollywood Improv. It's comedy, live music, street art, magic, just the best alternative acts I could find. And we were selling out standing room only for 2 years. And Dave Chappelle came by, dropped in, did a set, had a great time, asked if he could co-host with me. And we partied all night. It was like a 4 hour show with a live band and singing Radiohead's Creep at the end of it. And then we kept the bar open at the Hollywood Improv. So, it wasn't one of those nights where I was like, do you have any advice? I felt like he invited me to be an equal with him
Yeah.
because we're
Okay.
both comedians on stage. And it didn't feel appropriate to be like, I love Chappelle show or I love this
Yeah.
bit you do. It's more important to me that he saw me as a stand-up comedian as well. And he did. So that night we really kind of just like treated each other as comics having a great show. And I that's all I can ask for in an opportunity like that.
Mm. You mentioned all those clubs and everything and touring right now too. Like, is there a favorite place that you love going back every time to perform? Certain club or area, city?
I love the Comedy Store. I do a show there once a month called Glazer's After Party. I love Comedy Fort, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado. Um, yeah, I think like I'm fortunate right now because I'm on tour right now with my friends Billy and Carmen. And Billy created a show called The Gateway Show, where we do a sober set, and then we have an intermission, and then we do a stoned set where we're stoned out of our minds. And we've been selling that tour out all over the country, and we're about to do a theater in Sacramento on 420. And I
Uh,
think we're selling out a 500 seater, and that's going to be one of my first theaters I've ever done. So the more theaters I can do, the more I'll be able to say like, "Ooh, I love this theater, I love that theater," because that's my goal. I want to do theaters all over the world.
I was just gonna ask you, like, what's the goal? Is there a certain spot that you're like a Madison Square Garden or something like that? What?
Yeah, I mean, Madison Square Garden is cool. I think I'm more of a Radio City Music Hall kind of a
Okay,
guy. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Yeah, like I'll leave Billy Joel to the MSG areas, and I'll go do my feelings comedy over at Radio City Music Hall.
nice, nice. Is any big other tours coming up? Any summer tours that you got planned out?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna do Netflix as a joke fest on May 9th and then hit the road again. I'm working on this new album, I gotta keep putting stuff out. And it looks like May, June, and July are gonna be really fruitful. And hopefully I'm gonna be coming back to the Midwest too. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and I haven't been back there in a couple of years. So it would be really great to do a show in my hometown and bring some people out and reconnect with all my old high school friends as well.
Amazing. So we have the YouTube special out, we have the podcast, we have the Netflix comedy festival. Any other projects allowed to tell us about coming up?
Anything else? Um, Gosh, I'm trying to think. The podcast is dope. My special is dope. Yeah, I'll shout something else out. Okay, my girlfriend, her name is Tina Tazi, and she created Is It Cake on Netflix. So everybody go on Netflix and watch season 3 of Is It Cake, so that it gets a season 4, a season 5, and a season 6. And then finally, I'll be able to be a guest on
Yeah,
Is It Cake, and then that's going to be a wrap. I can't wait. I want to guess on what is and isn't cake. So let's get that to season 4.
amazing. Mike, lastly now, how can the viewers and listeners find you on social media, keep up with you on the tours, websites, everything you got out there?
Yeah, man, I appreciate the opportunity. Check out my YouTube, Mike Glazer, for my special Life Rules and my podcast Life Rules. Check out my Instagram, Glazer Boo Hoo Hoo, Glazer Boo Hoo Hoo, for all my tour dates and my clips and my Netflix presents live show. And drop me a DM, drop me a comment. And if you ever want to talk conspiracy theories, I just had a dude hit me up and he's like, "Yo, you were talking about a CIA document about manifesting portals to walk through." And he's like, "Can you send that to me?" So if you want any CIA documents about manifestation, hit me up in the DMs for that as well.
There you go. Mike, I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes today. Good luck with everything, and let's get you back on.
Real pleasure, man. Take care.
Take care.